This is Daniel Day-Lewis, the new host of the Double D Experience podcast.
Hey, Daniel. Hi. Sorry about that, Mr. Lewis.
Ever fucking interrupt me in your life? You fucking Depending on which movie he starred in, he would have actually said it.
Yeah,
he would have called you that.
Really
he's like the most humble guy ever when you see him. He's retired from acting, so quote unquote retired from acting so many times. Mm-hmm. And you want to know what Daniel Day-Lewis is? On the Double D Experience podcast. He's that guy that's like so humble about what he does, to the point where he like has his issues about quitting doing it. Like, I'm gonna retire from acting, because he's retired from acting quote unquote multiple times. Comes back, fucks around, wins Best Actor out of fucking nowhere,
and then leaves,
and then dips again. Yeah. just gets on the Academy Award stage like, I'm better than all of you. I'm so much fucking better than all of you. And he fucking is. I don't know. I'll suck Daniel Day-Lewis's cock to start the episode. He is the fucking finest actor of our generation. Him and like Chadwick Boseman, I think, are both up there, truthfully. Yeah. Extinguished in his prime, but yeah. I'm telling you, you haven't seen Gangs of New York? Dennis, when I tell you how fucking much you are going to love this movie so much, you really are. I just watched Gangs of New York recently. It's a 2002 film from Scorsese, which that's the first reason you're going to love it. You fucking love Scorsese. Mm-hmm. And you love all of his movies and his gang movies and shit. This is literally what this is. It's just like basically a picture an Italian-style mafia gang movie, except now it's set in your favorite time period. And they're racist towards white people instead. It's great. I think, like literally, this movie. Dennis loves racist humor, and Gangs of New York. If you have never seen this movie, there is no better way to describe it than this film.
It's pure. It's like pure peak racism for 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Like they make Daniel Day-Lewis say the N-word in this movie. Like they fucking made him do it. He's like the sweetest guy in real life, and fucking, to my knowledge, I don't know the man obviously, but from what people have said of him and how he presents himself when he's just being himself, I'm just fucking saying, it is peak racism. So it's not only set in your favorite time period, Dennis, as a historian, it is a Scorsese film, and it's peak racism. This movie has you written all over it. I really want to watch it with you, if I'm being honest. Like the intro scene where like they have the gang war with each other, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself like, wow, this is like peak racism, like pure unadulterated racism. They straight up said, you're the wrong type of white. That is how fucking racist this movie is. Like, you're white, but you're not the right kind of white. Like, holy shit. That is... I didn't know someone could be that racist. That's insane.
To be fair, like, if we even ever, like, had the means to... Oh, sorry about that. If we ever had the means to, do time travel...
Interview Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, so to time travel and bringing Daniel Day-Lewis with us to go to 1927 and just see all that racism firsthand.
This movie's way before that. It's like 1860s.
Oh, the 1860s, right?
Yeah,
right.
It's around around the halfway through Civil War.
Right, yeah. During the draft, during the draft riots as well. I saw that before. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yeah, like just kind of like even being like just. I would probably get lynched right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
you wouldn't have gotten lynched, but you would have gotten your ass beat. Like
I definitely would have gotten my ass beat. Like, yeah, someone would have definitely said, like, "What are you doing out here outside of your Chinatown? Like, you gook, like, get the fuck, like, just go back to your Chinatown."
They even just like, but I'm not by that point.
But it's like I'm not even Chinese.
They don't care. You're a yellow man. Until
one day they finally to your yellow town.
Until one day they finally eat the food and they're just like, "Oh, good golly, that Chinaman's dynamite."
Do you want
what is this Kung Pao chicken? I love it.
Do you want to know how much this money made, like worldwide?
How much the movie made?
Yeah.
How much did Gangs of New York make?
So apparently it made 77,812,000 in Canada and the United States.
Okay.
It made 23,763,699 in Japan. And then 16,350,000. I know, I was like, that's not even China, too. I'm like, where's China? Where's China on the box office?
China.
And 16,000,000.3 in the UK. So in total, the film grossed 193,772,504.
That's pretty good.
For what?
Especially 2002? 2002.
Yeah, 2002. Yeah, that's pretty good fucking money.
Fucking fantastic considered. Movie. It was one of Scorsese's best, in my
budget.
opinion.
You want to know the budget for this? Like what the budget was?
What was it?
It was a pretty big fucking movie, all things considered, for that era.
Oh yeah, dude, there were so many. It was New York in like the 1860s. They had you know how many extras
all the
you have
sets.
to hire?
Yeah,
the sets too.
As well.
Yeah.
You want to know how much?
How much?
97 million to 100 million for 2002 money.
$97 million just for the set and the movie. Well, the movie still made $100 million more than that.
Well, yeah, exactly. So but that's why like, the box office. They it made basically almost double, 193.8 for world box office. But like still though, like because like we always hear like just how movies like I mean they're not really getting any cheaper, if that makes sense. Like as far as inflation goes, like they're never gonna get any cheaper. Like unless like obviously you're I guess one of those more indie film studios and like like we've seen success from them in the past. Like I think Paranormal Activity, even though like I meme on this movie like to no end, considering like just how it like started off like at least as far as a franchise goes. I think like the first movie was I think very, I don't want to say revolutionary, but I get why people loved it when it first came out.
Is Paranormal Activity the lowest budget, the most low budget, like high gross successful film of all time?
Most.
Because fucking Blair Witch Project was just a bunch of dumb white people running around with a camera. Yeah. Like literally a bunch of like dumb white pricks with a GoPro, and that movie made like fucking however much.
Yo, but that's the thing. Like people were still like, oh my god, like it's so scary,
Movie is not even like, I don't even like horror movies. My girlfriend loves horror movies. Like she watches fucking like the Terrifier movies, which are banned in France because of how fucking absurdly violent those films are. There's a scene in Terrifier 3 in the new one where there's a couple fucking in there. Art the Clown comes in, chops the dude's legs off, kills the girl, I think, who was obsessed with Art at the same time, and then while the dude's crawling away with one leg, he takes the chainsaw and shoves it up the dude's ass.
Oof.
And they just show all of this shit in the movie. The actor literally barfed filming that scene after it was over because of how like realistic it seemed. Those movies are literally, they're like murder porn, basically. They're really fucked up movies. And she watches that shit and she's fine. So I think I can handle like a bunch of like white like dudes running around. Dude, there was like a ghost. There was a ghost, man. There was a ghost. Oh my god. And the camera's just fucking shaking like this.
Whole
like the whole fucking time. Y'all couldn't see that. That was just for Dennis, but I was shaking my webcam.
So there's 3 movies.
I just fucking unhooked my... hang on. There we go. We're good. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all right. So in total, there are 3 movies that are box office successes with a just low budget.
Yeah.
So Blair Witch Project made $248 million on a $200,000 budget. So
Jesus Christ,
that's 1,200. Yeah, like 1,243 times its budget. Next one, at least off of this guy's Reddit post, is Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
Made $194 million on a $15,000 budget. So that is 12,946 times its budget. Which is,
people were advertising that movie. I remember when that came out when I was in high school, and I was scared to look at like stills of it because I was terrified of horror movies. I still don't like horror movies, but back then I was way more anxious. I remember it was like advertised as like the scariest movie ever made, and like they showed like footage of people in the theaters like screaming and stuff, and I'm like, did it even hold up like that? Was it really that fucking scary?
I think for anyone going into it the first time, it did have that desired effect for a lot of people. And I think it also was just like the word of mouth. Like that was its own form of marketing right off the bat, because like everyone was like saying like, oh my god, bro, like this movie's so fucking scary. And even when it left theaters and like went on to being on DVD, everyone was just like still talking about it even up to that point. And I think for and obviously we know like once the producers started to hear that it was like people just weren't shutting up about it like at all. Like they were just kind of like, oh, let's make a sequel, right? And then like obviously like we got like the fucking dumpster fires that like we all know of, Paranormals 2 and 3, and I think there's a 4. I don't fucking know. Like who cares? I have no idea. I also say, but it was about as useful as a second coat of paint. Like it was just like so pointless. Like why? Like I say why. Like we know why, because of money, but it's it's just like it's so, because like I think that was one of the, well, maybe not, because like it was like one of those classic examples of like franchises that like got really successful off of the first like movie or two, and then just really went downhill like afterwards. And I think Jurassic
as they
Park,
all do.
Really. Because Jurassic Park also fell into that same trap, because I thought the first 2 movies were fucking fantastic. I thought Lost World, even though people do have their gripes against the movie, like I actually really did like the second movie. But yeah, and then we got Jurassic Park 3, which I mean was like cool and had its merits, I suppose, but like as far as just like like nothing could hold a candle to the first one, to the original, which obviously is like a tall order for anybody, considering.
It's one thing I at least admire about the Terrifier films, because I think the director said he wanted to end it after the 4th one, because which sounds like a lot, but like horror franchises usually have like 12 films in those. They make like a million of those, because like some of them get low budget, but then they make a lot of money, and then sometimes they also just flop. But I don't know. What was that last movie? The third one?
So the last movie is called Mariachi. It was El Mariachi. It made $2 million on a budget of just, you want to guess this number?
Like 2K.
7,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
200,000, 7K. That's a lot more. Jeez.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing?
Well, I mean, like, look at Paranormal, though. 12,946 times its budget of a budget of 15K.
Yeah, no wonder they made like fucking like however many of those are going to be flops at the end of it. It doesn't matter with how much you fucking made off of those movies.
Honestly, you made your bank. Like, you made bank and then some after that first movie. Like everything else that came afterwards was just like, it's like whatever.
Off the kind of movie that they would have casted TikTokers in if TikTok was a thing back then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because like the 2 people that they got for the first movie was just kind of like, I have no idea who any. Like I don't think they were actually like any like famous actors or anything. It was just kind of like just two random Joes like just off the street. It's like, hey, you want to be in a movie? We're gonna just have you sleeping the whole time, and the ladies is gonna be possessed for like 15 minutes, and then that's it. Like that's all. Like
somebody asked me that, I would just be like, "Is this a porno? Are you like a porn director? Because I don't want to like put myself like on nothing like that. Like no, it's legit. I swear to God, it's legit. This is gonna be the biggest horror movie.
Look, Harvey Weinstein is actually funding my movie. Okay, the Harvey Weinstein, the lady toucher. He's like, yeah, him.
He didn't budget things that small. He only buggered women that were that small.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing to see that do that. And horror movies are definitely the biggest like benefactors or perpetrators of that, if you would. Low budget, either huge success or 95% of the time horrible failures, because most horror movies are terrible, and even horror fans will tell you that. Like they will tell you that. No, I'm serious, they will.
But then it makes me wonder, like, why do y'all like still watch these? Like, I mean, there's still good horror movies, but it's just like, I think there's just way more terrible ones than good ones.
I don't know. And if I could try to answer that question for you, my girlfriend is obsessed with horror. It's one of the many things we have that are different than one another. We like to think that we're the yin to each other's yangs as of now. But the point is that like I guess we've talked about this a lot, because like one major difference we have is she loves horror movies. But you're going to love this. She loves horror movies. You want to know what freaks her out? that she can't do? Horror video games.
Really?
They bother her. Like, horror video games really bother her. And the funny part about that is I'm the exact fucking opposite. Horror video games do not bother me very much, or usually they typically don't. They can bother me. I don't play them too much, but even watching Markiplier play them, I'm like, this doesn't really get me like this. But horror movies, Dennis? Oh, hell no. I watched Dawn of the Dead with this lady, and even Dawn of the Dead, that movie is so tame. It's so tame compared to a lot of like modern stuff, especially, again, the Terrifier movies, banned in France because of how violent they are. Like Dawn of the Dead, no, nothing like that. And I was fucked up afterwards. Like, I was just having, like, I felt very sad after watching it because I was very immersed in the situation. I felt very, like, a little anxious, I guess. When horror movies don't freak me out or fuck me up psychologically, they just make me sad. That's another reason I don't like them. Like, every emotion that is supposed to get elicited from those films, I do not like. So I don't fuck with them. They're like the only real genre of movie that I do not fuck with. Everything else I like, and it's the only one that I can say confidently, I hate these films. But, please, go ahead, please.
No, because I was even going to say, like, I do love movies that have horror elements to them.
Same. Like, if there's like a spoopy scene, or it'd be like, oh, like this was very well done.
Like Death from Puss in Boots. That was an example of like a horror element that like kind of just was used so fucking well. And I guess, again, same as David too. Like, I'm not really like the biggest horror film fan. A lot of times, like, I kind of laugh at horror movies.
You'd be the kind of person to laugh at them more than anything else.
There was a scene from, I think, one of the newer Halloween movies, and I believe Jamie Lee Curtis was actually in it.
She was,
and
yes.
Yeah, and like she Mike Myers, like, he shows up at her neighborhood and like, he's about to kill her and her daughter, and then this part was, I know it was supposed to be like a triumphant sort of scene because it's like, oh, like finally, like everyone's just saying like no more Michael, and like they're conquering their demons, I suppose, in a way, because he's just hung over like that shadow over like that neighborhood for so long. But like he comes out into the middle of the neighborhood and all the neighbors like come out of their houses and just start beating the ever-loving shit out of him in the middle of the street.
Well, they just like jump him like Scorsese style.
No, like they literally like get bats. They just get stakes. They get fucking metal poles. They just beat the ever-loving shit out of him in the middle of the street. And it was like the most like, I don't even know what to call it. It was like just so much righteous fury on this murderous piece of shit. It almost stopped being a horror movie at one point because, like, usually when it comes to horror, like the monster or like the, what do we call it? Whatever we want to call it, like the antagonist monster, whatever, typically is kind of seen in a very like almost in an unstoppable sort of way. There's just like no stopping it. Like, he's just going to get you and get you and get you. And he's going to pick off your friends one by one. And obviously, like, they make the deaths like, very horror like suspense and all. But for some reason in this movie, like, I have never seen an ass beating like that in a horror movie. Like, where everyone just gets like that communal justice on this piece of shit. Everyone just like gets their fucking bats from their garage.
Like they straight up like, Scorsese style jump him.
Yeah, like they literally like Goodfellas his ass. Like they straight up like just beat the ever-loving shit.
It wouldn't be the first time that mob elements were combined with horror. Shoutouts to Mob of the Dead. That would have been funny as hell to see.
So
does it work? Like I assume it doesn't work.
Well, for me, like because I take
do they kill him? Like, do they kill him? I
think it ends up being where like they think like, okay, that's it, he's done. Like they just think like, okay, like he's dead.
We dogged his ass.
Yeah, but then they turn around and his fucking corpse is gone. Well, I'm like, y'all, you fucking dumb motherfuckers. Like you should have set his body on fucking fire.
You can laugh at them too. And to get back into like, I guess the psychological element of it, like correlating with what you said, I was fine during the movie. Totally fine. I was laughing at shit in Dawn of the Dead too sometimes. Like there's like when they're escaping in like the self-made like fort vans that they made, and they have like chainsaws that they're like rubbing through the windows. One guy like, because the movie needed more gore in it, guy just accidentally takes the chainsaw, accidentally like saws one of the girls in half. For no fucking reason. Like he just does it. And I'm just like, I literally audibly said, really? There was no earthly reason for that to happen, but it just fucking happened because like, oh, violent chainsaw, chop in half.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you think zombie movies can be classified as horror nowadays?
Well, I was about to say, I mean, they originally were.
But nowadays.
But like, depends.
I don't think zombies are scary anymore.
No. You're just Walking Dead pilled. The real zombie movies,
like,
well, they're not like usually ones that are released in theaters. Like there's like that horror streaming service that exists. I don't remember what it's called.
There is?
Yeah.
Just like for horror movies?
Yeah, horror.
How are they gonna get the rights for all of that shit?
It's called Shudder. Yeah, it's called Shudder, and those ones have movies that are way too violent that are often either not released in theaters or who only have limited runs.
Okay.
Not like Walking Dead, where like it's hardly even about the zombies. It's just about the effect from the zombies. It's basically I share the same opinion with zombie grandmaster George Romero about The Walking Dead, where I'm sure it's a good show, but like it feels like a soap opera with zombies as like a backdrop. Because I watched an episode of The Walking Dead to try to get into it, and there was literally not a single zombie in the episode the entire time, and I'm like, what? Like I want to see the heads get blown up or whatever, or chopped off or blah blah blah. And then, I don't know, it's different. Like Hollywood has it's more about the dread or like the crazy thing about the situation rather than like the horror aspect of just it being violent. Because I can agree with like saying, oh, violence is so much more normalized in media nowadays that they're definitely less scary because people are more desensitized to that kind of violence. But even then, like for sensitive people like me when it comes to those movies, that's what really bothered me. Because there's one scene where like the wife, who's like the main character in the movie, like they get to the mall, they're hiding, and then she just breaks down for a bit and starts crying and just lets the reality of what she's going through set in. And that scene fucked me up because you want to know what it reminded me of? COVID. Where we essentially woke up one day and the world was just different. This was on an exaggerated scale, of course, for like a zombie virus where you bite each other and the people you love turn into monsters. They die and then they get back up as like a bodiless flesh sack. But when that happened, it fucked me up. And that's why my girlfriend, she was actually terrified of zombie movies too. Art the Clown's Terrifier, no fucking people getting their limbs chopped off and shit, she is more than okay with that. But zombie shit bothers her because like she's terrified of the idea. She's terrified of the idea of waking up and just having the world be completely different. And I can vibe with that because I've had nightmares like that. Or we all lived through that reality where we woke up and the world was different because of COVID. So
it's not
and
really
this movie came out way
monster.
before it.
So it's not really because of the monster. It's more for like the setting itself is horror like rather than it's just like, okay, I have a monster chasing me. It's like, no, the entire world is now like this. And like
exactly.
Okay.
It's about the existential dread that the situation creates rather than, oh, that monster sure is scary looking. Oh boy, don't get in my face and bite my neck and my ball sack. Like, it's not like that. Or limbs getting chopped off or mindless violence or whatever, which that's what a lot of these movies are to her. Mindless violence and like, oh, that was a creative way to kill somebody. No, though that bothers her because like it feels more real to her, even though it's more fake because it's zombies and zombies don't exist, because of the situation it creates. The existential dread of like, holy fuck, this is reality now. This is the fucking world. Holy shit. And I think everybody can relate to that to some sort of extent. And for me, it's like, I don't know. Like, I guess I just, as this guy with Asperger's, I either feel hyper empathy towards somebody or no empathy at all. And I guess watching somebody get fucking murdered in the most brutal way possible, beyond the disturbing and psychological aspect of it, gets worse because I think, oh, they really didn't deserve that. Which is why characters in horror movies are usually really shitty people. They try to make it seem like, hey, they deserve it. That's the whole point.
They're pretty heavily typecasted where it's like, because especially like a lot of horror movies that we kind of grew up with, it was always like, teenagers that like were on
engaging in premarital sex.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they were away on summer camp, and
that one's doing drugs. He's bad. Don't do drugs, or you'll get a fucking stake up your ass.
Yeah. Meanwhile, as Chad and Nancy were going at it behind the boathouse, like they got knifed in the fucking face by murder fuck coming out of the woods and just like straight up knifing them.
Just jacking off, watching them in the corner, like. Can
I even say though, like it's because it's so weird how like obviously we had like that whole decade of zombies, like a decade of like zombie movies, I suppose, like where for a time like it was not like the main thing we were getting from Hollywood, but like at the very least we were getting zombie movies like every 3 months at one point. And like I think obviously like it kind of stemmed from I was gonna say Left 4 Dead. I was like, Left 4 Dead.
I know the time period you're talking about where there was so much zombie media. I mean, Left 4 Dead, CoD Zombies,
and then Rising, Walking Dead, and Walking Dead just kind of like set it.
Yeah.
It was because I think the end of that too was actually World War Z, because that was honestly one of the worst zombie movies I think I've ever watched, like
really
in my life. Only because I understand that for a lot of the zombie movies, things go wrong because of just human choices. It's not really because of the zombies. It's really because like people themselves like just fucking make things worse, because like they just like that's just sometimes like, and it could just be for any sort of circumstance, but like like there's a fucking scene where the dude who's the doctor of like that they were trying to find in World War Z, like there's a doctor they were trying to find because like apparently he may he's like pretty close to a cure or something, right? And do you know how he dies?
How does he die?
He literally runs up the ramp of an AC-130. He slips and a gun falls out of his fucking pocket and he shoots himself.
How can you expect your movies to be taken seriously if your characters are going to die in ways that are that funny? Like, I know me and Dennis, like, we laugh at, like, the scene at the end of There Will Be Blood. We make fun of that scene a lot. That's the milkshake scene. It's like a serious scene, and it's meant to be a little funny, I guess, but not as funny as me and Dennis fucking laugh at it at. But you see what I get what you're saying. Like, if you're going to make your movie dramatic like that, shit like that is just so dumb to take seriously. Also, the fact, like, the zombies overtake the humans way too fast in that fucking movie. Yeah. Like, way too fast. Like, they outnumbered the humans, like, global population-wise within, what, like 3 days?
Yeah, essentially. Like, it's something basically, like so a lot of countries are either, not, like, wiped out, but they're basically, under siege, or, like, they... shut up. Sorry. So they're either under siege or at the same time, like they're constantly fighting them, and like it's a bit of a struggle. Like there's not really like a clear winner in sight at that point. And mind you, this is also a movie that was adapted from a book series, but like it has almost nothing to do with like the actual book. Surprise, surprise. And in the case of the way they kind of wrap up the movie towards the end is just kind of like, and then the army fought the zombies and won. The end. And like, we don't even get to see, like, I mean, there is a lot of crazy set pieces, like the wall of Israel. There is that scene where like, we see like all the zombies like literally like running towards it, and
that
like,
was the fucking scene that like the boardroom, or like the fucking producers, or who do you call it, the what's the word, the shareholders or whatever, saw, and they were like, we need that, because that's the scene that's gonna set our movie apart from the rest of the zombie media. Because it basically is like when there's like, there's so many of them, like they can basically
they're climbing like over each other. Yeah,
like that's something that didn't happen in another one. So at the very least, World War Z has some things that make it unique. It's not truly generic.
The game was better though. I did like that game. It is. I don't want to say that it is a genre that's sort of run its course now, because it's like, I mean, it had its like, it had its high points like a decade or two ago, where like, when Walking Dead, as David mentioned, Walking Dead, Left 4 Dead, just all these zombie IPs like just all out there, and like I mean for a time, like you know, and no disrespect to them, they were great. Like I still love Left 4 Dead 2, and like you know, at the very least, I even think Zombieland is not really a zombie movie per se. I think it's just like horror comedy, really, like from the get go, and I just love that cast too. It's just so like just
Zombieland was great.
Yeah, if you wanted a Left 4 Dead movie, that's your Left 4 Dead movie right there. That's it. That's them. Woody Harrelson, him wiping his eyes with fat stacks of money. Fucking Valve out here, like things just like, well, we didn't even need to make it. Gavin was like, why do we need to make a Left 4 Dead movie? It's right there. Just watch that.
So unsanitary too. Wiping your eyes with money. As somebody who had a fucked up problem with his eye recently, I cannot imagine. Oh yeah, like think the
pink eye you'd get from that alone would be biblical.
I already got pink eye from that fuck ass mall. So
and that's the thing though too. Like it set like zombie movies also like made a lot of
all set in malls. They're always set in malls.
Yeah, like and obviously Left 4 Dead. Like you know, what was it? Dead Center, right? No,
we all Dead Center. Yeah.
Was it Dead Center? Okay, yeah.
Like you know, like we all remember like even like the fucking Left 4 Speed, like the parody on Newgrounds where they were just like, oh, a mall, how original. My friends call me Coach.
Yeah, like, and you know, it's and like now, like I mean, again, moving to the modern day, like I think I guess you could kind of argue maybe Game of Thrones was a bit of a zombie movie, considering it was literal undead trying to come.
The cool thing about it, I will say though, is that Game of Thrones, it still felt like different because it was still like old or more medievally or like a fantasy show. So having something like zombies and like putting a fantasy spin on it was cool. Combining genres fucks. It's the coolest thing in the world because if there's something that did it as well as Game of Thrones and something that is only one singular level in a video game, can we please for a second talk about Mob of the Dead? Can we please talk about Mob of the Dead?
I'm actually not familiar with it.
Just Google it right now.
Okay, yeah. All right, go on. Give the TLDR to the audience.
Mob of the Dead is one of easily, like the general consensus from the community, if not the greatest Call of Duty zombie map ever produced.
Oh, okay.
It combines the horror genre with the fucking gangster film. In the sickest way they possibly could have.
Is that Ray Liotta?
Yeah. And it had Ray Liotta, Chaz Palminteri. Yes, you got your eyes are right. It had Chaz Palminteri. It had Michael fucking Madsen and Joe Pantoliano.
So you guys if you guys don't know their character names,
I'll put it on screen. Yeah.
Ray Liotta was a dude called Billy Handsome.
Mm-hmm. Billy Handsome.
Michael Madsen was literally took his first name, Michael Finn O'Leary.
Yeah, the Irish one. Yeah.
Chaz Palminteri. There's always a Sal. There's always a Sal. Sal DeLuca, and Joe Pantoliano, Al the Weasel Arlington.
Yep.
And you know.
Yeah, it's a map that is literally the map is set. I'm gonna nerd out about Mob of the Dead. That's really what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, it's in Alcatraz in the 30s.
It's set in Alcatraz, yes, in like the 30s, with the Golden Gate Bridge unfinished in the background. That's where the Pack-a-Punch machine is. You have to like build a plane to fly there and get to it. Which, by the way, based off a real life escape plan, there was a makeshift boat that some prisoners at Alcatraz Island made to like sail their way on it. So it's literally based off a true story as well. Basically, it's the sickest thing. Like, so there's like mob colloquialisms in it, mob quotes and stuff. Combines the genre, and I'm bringing all this up because I feel like Game of Thrones combined genres beautifully as well with the horror aspect of the White Walkers and just the fantastical world of Game of Thrones. So when people combine genres right, it just fucking
it fucks. Like, it fucks.
For my thing that I want to do, like in my pilot that I wrote, I want to include dragons and sci-fi shit. That's what I want to do because I'm surprised that hasn't been done yet. And I feel like I can make some pretty cool fuck shit happen. Like, I'm talking like bioengineering lizards to use them as war weapons. Like, that's a good excuse to like have like lizards in your sci-fi shit. Don't fucking steal my idea. But the point is,
OC, don't steal.
The map is set in. The map is literally set in hell. That's the twist. The mobsters are dead already. They're in purgatory, awaiting judgment because they did the escape plan. It failed. the three other mobsters killed the weasel, and then the other three were put to death. And now they're in purgatory, just dying over and over and over and over and over again in just this zombie-infested hell island. It's so sick. It's like the beyond the map itself just being good and being simple, like it being the celebrity cast that it is as well. Again, fucking Ray Liotta, Chaz Palminteri, like they went all out with this shit. And it would be so cringe if I ever met Chaz Palminteri in real life, because like what I would literally say to him, I'd be like, yeah man,
like the thing you remember him from is not from his movies, but from fucking CoD.
I would literally, dude, I'm not even kidding. I would straight up, that would be my first thought. I would tell him like, yeah man, I loved you in Call of Duty. It was like, in what? In Call of what?
Cock-a-doodle, what?
Cock-a-doodle-doo. Yeah, it's one of the best zombies maps easily, and it combines genres in the sickest way possible. Like, imagine a Scorsese film with just fucking zombies in it, then it's like, ugh. And it's not even the first time they've done shit like that. You remember the 5 map? That's the one that's in the Pentagon where you play as JFK.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And fucking Richard Nixon and like
that,
Fidel
like,
Castro
honestly,
and shit.
And you know, it's no surprise either that like again, Black Ops 2 was a game that kind of was like, I believe, just kind of off my radar. I knew that it was there, but I never really kind of like played it like at its high point, like as a lot of other people did.
Yeah.
But like, you know, look at all like the posters that, or like, I guess not posters, but like promotional material that they made for at least Mob of the Dead. It looks like, you know, it's intentional. It looks like a movie poster. And, you know,
same thing with Shadows of Evil, when that's the first map that came out in Black Ops 3, which also had a celebrity cast. That one had Heather Graham and Ron Perlman. It had Jeff Goldblum. Like, it had a bunch of like high actors in it, and it was like a noir setting. It combined noir with zombies. It's set in like a city. It's raining, like detective, like all that shit. The femme fatale. It had all that shit, right? And the only reason I'm cutting you off is because a lot of the zombies community members they went to Treyarch to experience the map and to get like promo copies for the game or whatever. And when they went there, the whole place was decked out in Shadows of Evil gear and stuff. Like, they had posters for it on the wall, like movie posters for it and stuff. And I'm like, this is just the side mode of the game, technically. Nothing about the campaign, nothing about multiplayer. Like, the place was decked out in all the zombie shit because they knew that was the best fucking part of the game. So they had movie posters for that as well. So I'm only interrupting you because in light of that, they sort of treat zombies the same way. The same for the Call of the Dead map. That's the celebrity map they did in Black Ops 1, where we were talking about George Romero.
Yeah.
That map is insane because that map is set on a movie set for a George Romero movie, and George Romero is the fucking boss of the map.
That's so awesome.
The zombies kill him, but because of his role, he doesn't turn into a normal zombie. He becomes like the zombie grandfather, like this electric beast that the zombies just don't interrupt, and he just walks slowly like amongst them.
Like the zombie god, I guess.
Exactly. Like, he becomes like the zombie god, and he has like 1 million health, and he's hard to kill, and he just endlessly follows you around the map. I'm bringing that map up too because that was their movie map. They even advertised that map in a movie trailer, like a George Romero movie. They got the old announcer from like the Romero, like The Night of the Living Dead, directed by George Romero. It's sure to knock your socks off, like that old-timey movie announcer when they were advertising it. And like, the cool thing about that map is it's like a meta map because you play as the actors playing characters in a movie. So you play as like Sarah Michelle Gellar as herself. You play as Danny Trejo as himself. You play as Michael Rooker as himself. You see what I mean? It's like a meta map basically, and it's literally canon to the story. It's CoD Zombies is the fucking greatest zombie media ever made. I can gush about those fucking games for hours, but in the interest of moving on, I'm gonna stop and bring it back to what brought us onto this conversation in the first place, which is my beautiful girlfriend, who is very frightened by video game horror shit, but watches Terrifier and is totally fine. So, and this is what I want to ask your opinion about, Dennis, if I may.
Yeah. Yes.
I may?
Yes.
I wish I may. I wish I might. Starlight, starbright.
Starlight, starbright.
Alright, sorry. Yeah. I'm the opposite. To go back to what we were talking about originally, I'm the opposite of my girlfriend in that violent movies bother me, or movies that are over the top violent, especially horror movies. But horror video games don't. And she is really bothered by horror video games but horror movies is like a whole huge chunk of her personality. Like she has like a Scream like mat on her door and stuff. She has like horror movie posters in her apartment and stuff like that. But video games are what scare her. And we're the complete opposite of that. And I'm like, why? Like in video games, it's so fake. Like you look at it, it's like you can tell it's fake. You can tell it's a video game. You know what I mean? And it's different because usually for me, it's like normally in video games, you're given a weapon. And that changes everything.
Well, yeah, like, exactly. The whole like dynamic of the game is now different where it's like, okay, at the very least, I can defend myself.
Exactly. Yeah, but, so many non-horror people love Resident Evil. Resident Evil is a huge franchise to normies, to people who aren't even that big into horror. You want to know why? Because you can fucking shoot them. That's it. I'm serious. Seriously, imagine Resident Evil if you didn't have a gun. Imagine how much scarier that fucking game would be. When something walks around a corner and there's just nothing you can do. Especially with the camera angles that those old games did as well. Like that sort of 2.5D like corner style that they did, where like every time you enter a room, it's like a different movie shot. Basically, like not like the new Resident Evil games where it's just like, oh, it's a first-person horror game, whatever. I'm talking about the old ones where like you walk around a corner and like am I thinking of the Silent Hill games? I might be confusing them with Silent Hill, but I'm pretty sure Resident Evil did the same thing. But regardless,
I don't want to say that they're similar, considering like I'm pretty sure there's many fans that will probably disagree with me on that. But at the very least, like it's I think I kind of understand though, like why your girlfriend may
I ask
what?
May I guess?
Yeah,
because to her, it is actually like. Let me see if you got it right. Like, why do you think it is?
Because I think in a way it's sort of like that visceralness. It's like, I am that character. That's so it. So it's like, okay, everything I do, is going to be, everything I do and every action that I do is going to dictate whether or not I'm going to live or die.
To her, it's like, but it's you. Like, you're in the role of that. So it's like this stuff is happening to you.
Yeah.
But when she's watching a movie, it's just like, oh, violent shit happening to all other people. It's not, that's when it's not the same to her. So you got it right.
Yeah. Because in the movie, you're just kind of detached. It's like, okay, yeah, you're just seeing a guy.
Fucking smart.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, in a movie, you're just kind of seeing a dude like get eaten. And you're just kind of like, oh, like, well, not maybe not, oh, but you know, you're just kind of like,
to be you on this glorious
day. Like, you don't have you're not really putting yourself in the shoes of like, you know, anyone in a horror movie per se, because it's like more often than not, like it's just not. I think that kind of movie, if that makes sense. Like, it's usually not that kind of genre where, like, you're kind of like, you know, you, like, there's that relatability, if that makes sense. But sometimes it could also depend on the horror movie, because, like, sometimes it's just, like, you know, fucking 4 teenagers, like, at a lake, and, you know, like, they get killed, and it's like, okay, whatever. But, I've seen some zombie movies, and another one that I think I don't know if your girlfriend has watched it, but like Train to Busan, which was that Korean horror movie.
I don't fuck with the Korean ones, man. Those ones are
but this one wasn't.
They go hard with the zombie movies. There are so many Korean zombie movies.
I think it's because, like, you know, the United States had like their zombie era, like you know, a while ago, and like it's come and gone. And I think it's now just recently, or at least the last couple of years back, that Korea especially has now started to kind of like really kind of almost embrace like that zombie genre. And like they kind of realize it's like, you know, we can do it well. And people even internationally like kind of really like, you know, what we've been doing. And I think if anything, Train to Busan, which came out, it's like when I was working around in college. And it was this is the first one that I'm talking about right now. Like, that movie got such a big reception, even from non-Korean like foreigners across the world. Like, it was, I don't think it was like, you know, like a zombie movie that like topped all these other ones, but like it was just very exciting and very refreshing to see a country where, you know, the main exports are Korean dramas and K-pop make a really good like zombie movie. And at the same, it just kind of proved to the world that like, hey, like, you know, we can do it well. And like they did it very well. And
It spawned other ones. There's another one about like where the protagonist is a Twitch streamer whose Twitch chat tells him.
The he looks outside and he sees like all this. Oh shit!
Like that. He basically sees that. What you just did. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, he looks. No, it's all right. He looks outside and like he just sees like that fucking just all the zombies and pandemonium like outside his house. All the people like just out in the street like getting eaten or running after a dude so that they want to eat. Like it's I want to say like it almost kind of feels like there's a bit of a renaissance nowadays like with it, because like one would have thought way back when that it's just kind of a genre that like it's just been figured out in a way. It's like, okay, like, you know, how many more fucking zombie movies do we really need like in, you know, around here? Because like, you know, we have like enough. And to a certain extent, yeah, like there is, I honestly think plenty of zombie movies out there. Like if you are a zombie fan, you have no shortage of great zombie movies just to watch. And I say zombie movies as if it's its own genre because really it is, in my opinion. I don't think zombie movies like can be classified as like traditional horror anymore. And I think a lot of people even sort of agree on that too, because it's not like The Conjuring. It's not really like because again, we're talking like when
not about a ghost, not about a murderer.
Yeah, like not about a demon,
not a
about
slasher film or anything like that. It's about the same thing in the same situation.
It's not even the zombies too. It's literally the setting. It's the world. It's just completely devastated, completely changed, and it's just something that, you know, for people who are living in it, like at least in the settings of the movies, it's one that you either adapt or you just straight up die. And like, you know, it's just, and it ends up changing everybody that is in it. And in the case of like, you know, I guess I kind of didn't want to talk about this one a little too much, but like, I guess I have to mention it. Despite what we may say about The Walking Dead and how much it's just fallen from grace from so many years ago, when it was at its high point, though, we can't argue its impact. It was huge. It was honestly
normies were watching that show. Like your fucking middle school teacher or whatever was watching that shit, who doesn't even like horror stuff. You know
Chad
what I mean?
McThundercock like thing was also like, you know what, like, you know, what Chad McThunderjock, I guess. Like everyone was watching the movie. Everyone
was watching that show. Yeah.
Yeah, like they were watching. I mean, well, AMC too. That was like also the era of like just the AMC's greatest, really. Like, you know, the other one obviously being Breaking Bad. I think it came out around the same time or a little bit afterwards.
Yeah, they were both running at the same time.
Yeah, which like, I mean, like AMC was just like fucking rolling in it at that point. And, you know, it kind of was just like that era of like just really wonderful TV shows that like people just had no shortage of out there. And then also Game of Thrones came out a couple of years afterwards, and like it just kind of like just set that trend, if anything, of just like great television dramas that like, you know, we just all love to tune into and like, you know, watch and talk about. And like it's not really like, it's just, I think, evolved now further at this point. And Walking Dead was just one of those series that like really I guess sort of popularized that sort of style of television too, because, you know, we mentioned The Sopranos like many episodes back, and like it almost kind of laid the foundations for a lot of these shows. But I think, you know, for The Walking Dead's case, of course it was another adaptation. It wasn't an original, let's say, like idea. It was literally adapted from a comic series that, like, you know, if anyone's aware, like, you know, obviously I think it's sort of veered off, like the show definitely veered off a bit from where the comics were.
Sometimes it's a good thing, because I heard The Boys show is like significantly better.
The Boys
comic
series
were not that
is
good.
Dog shit. It is just straight dog shit. It's so bad. And I am very glad that at the very least the writers for the show have decided to take elements from the source material, but at least, you know, they're going to be going their own direction and like obviously making it their own.
I wonder if The Walking Dead would bother my girl. Because like,
has she watched it? She hasn't watched it.
I don't know, but like knowing like how more scared she was of zombies as opposed to other like versions of horror. Again, like psycho killer, ghosts, people getting slashed up, that's totally fine. But zombies bothered her because it's the existential dread of like how the world is different now. So that would probably bother her a little bit more I think she'd be able to watch it, but I think that would probably bother her a little bit more. I mean, we watched the first episode of The Amazing Digital Circus, which combines horror with like kiddie shows. It's about if you're familiar with that show from Glitch Productions, and yeah, it's interesting, just the concept, man. Like for me, it's like, you know, like for her, like video games don't bother her because like, again, it's like, or they do bother her because like you're the one in the role of this person. But for me, it's like that feels way more fake than watching something absolutely horrible happen to somebody on a screen. Because not only in a movie does it look more realistic, in a movie I feel like it's more about the psychological element. Like in a video game, I feel like that's what makes me more aware that this is a simulation, this isn't real. And I guess to her, it happening to other people on a screen in a movie is what lets her know this is a simulation, this isn't real. We just both have the same visceral, this is fake reaction. Just to different forms of media. Yeah. And the only thing that separates that is the fact that, in a video game, it's like you're playing as the person this happens to. Like, it's happening to you, so you have more reason to get scared. It makes it more immersive, like you're in that world. I would kill myself if Art the Clown was near me. That's what she said. And yet she loves watching him on a screen, literally peel the skin off of a woman and pour acid all over her. And just show all of this on a bed. It's like those movies are fucking repulsively violent. Like to the point where like we never thought movies would get this violent, really. And again, banned in certain countries in Europe, and Europe loves that violent shit. Like I feel like Terrifier borders on like Japanese horror movie level shit with how fucked up those movies are. And like Japanese horror movies, like some of those movies are banned like internationally. Like those movies are just like fucking
like ridiculous. At least The Grudge that we got here in the States is not the Grudge that was made in Japan.
Probably not.
Completely, from what I've heard, it is almost, at least I heard from a lot of other people who watched it. I never watched it, but
like it borders on snuff film, right?
Snuff, and it's just like, people just kind of say it's like 10 times more scarier than what we got over here.
And
so,
that
like,
bothers me so much more than a video game because like, they're allowed to do way worse shit and it usually looks way more realistic than a fucking video game. Like that's the thing, like video games you can usually tell they're fake. I guess it's different because in games like Outlast, like again that's another example of like having a gun. Outlast is like considered one of the scariest horror games of all time currently, and that game is fucked up to high hell. Again, you don't have a gun, and at the beginning of the game the prompt just says you are not a fighter, you do not fight the enemies, and I'm like, what do you the fuck do you if one of those fucking things is running towards me, I am fucking stabbing it.
You are not Leon Kennedy, just say.
Yeah, you just let them like do horrible shit to you, and it's like, what the fuck is this? Like people get stabbed in the dick in that game, and they like show it and stuff, and I'm like,
yeah, or like getting their fingers,
Well, you know that scene, like the scene where the guy gets his fingers chopped off by like the half naked dude. Like that's like the scene I saw where I'm like, okay, this is really disturbing. That's when the Game Grumps stopped playing it. Because that's when they were like, oh, this game is like, it's one of those. Like this game is like fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine they played that with Dan. He would have like fucking... He would have just curled into a ball and died.
Dan probably would... Yeah, like I think like probably 2 episodes in, he was just like, yep, no, I'm not going to do it. He's just going to like nope out of there like real fast.
I'm out. I'm going to go check my email. Man, you should have seen... they played PT again recently after like 10 years. They went back to it. I haven't watched it yet, but I would love to watch that again. With Dan, like just the Game Grumps, Aaron and Dan. I would love to see that. I feel so bad for him. They make him play horror shit every year for Halloween, and he hates horror shit.
Well, I mean, you know,
he's just like me for real.
Wants.
He's just like me for real.
It's so funny too, because like I think by the time this episode comes out, it's gonna be like already a couple days in December, and like we're talking about spoopy stuff.
We're already a couple of days in December right now. All right, well. I guess that's the end of our spiel about me and my girl's differences between horror movies and why. I wanted your take on that because I just think we both have the same fucking reaction, but like, you know, the same scared reaction, just to different forms of media. Like, it just think it's interesting because the same thing in just different forms of media bothers us in almost the exact same way, which I just thought was interesting. But yeah, we're done. Got to get editing this at a certain point. We love y'all. Mwah. Tell us what your favorite spoopy is. In the comments, I guess, both video game or movie. I suppose.
We should have mentioned Dead Space because like that also was like a whole,
Dead Space, yeah,
just got its own got its remaster for I think the second game recently.
Yeah, I forgot about Dead Space. Yeah, that's another one.
One of the scariest games of the
sci-fi and horror.
Yeah,
which is another thing that CoD Zombies does, which I think is sick.
Definitely inspired by Alien as well, which like Alien Romulus, sci-fi and also horror, does it pretty well.
Romulus was great. I saw that movie. I have to
watch it. My brother actually he recently started watching the older Alien movies. He just watched the first one and he really liked it. So I was like, fuck, maybe I should get around watching. There's so much shit I have to watch. I'm literally watching Arcane now. And I'm like, because like everyone was saying like, yo, you gotta watch this series. Like I don't even fuck League of Legends. And then like I actually watched it. I was just kind of like, yeah, well, this is actually pretty good. And then like now I'm watching it. So
anyway, guys,
too many fucking things to watch.
Plugs. Like, comment, subscribe on youtube.com/Nintoonist. Follow us on Spotify as well. Leave us a quick 5-star review or Apple Podcasts if that's what you prefer. New episodes every single weekend. Not Friday anymore. I just upload them on a weekend day whenever I can. I'll be fucked if I'm able to stick to a tight schedule anymore. Yeah, we love y'all. Let us know what your favorite spoopy is, I suppose, for the Christmas season. And
Nightmare Before Christmas, I guess.
Oh, that good. Technically,
such a cop out, but hey,
yeah, that's a fucking family movie, if anything. But it's still got Tim Burton's piss all over it.
They shoot Jack Skellington out of the fucking sky, like World War II style.
I don't remember that part. I haven't seen the movie in a long time.
He's in the sleigh, and like they just have anti-aircraft cannons, like just shooting at him.
Anti-aircraft Halloween missiles.
They blow him out of the fucking sky.
Skellington detected.
Open fire.